USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Honda. When you test drive the all-electric Prologue SUV, there's a lot that could impress you about it. There's the generous passenger space, the clean, thoughtful design, and the intuitive technology. But out of everything, what you'll really love most is that it's a Honda. Visit honda.com/EV to see offers.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
From the Fifth Quarter Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, you're listening to Coach Unplugged. And now, your host, Steve Collins.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Coach Unplugged. I'm so happy you decided to join us. Before we get started today, I'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsors. First of all, Dr. Dish, the #1 shoe machine in the market. I've said this multiple times. We own 3 of them. I want a 4th and a 5th. My AAD's listening to me, but they're so great. They work so well. They're so easy to set up. I think my record is 37 seconds or 32 seconds to set it up. But mention Coach Unplugged, they'll give you $450 off. Mention Coach Collins, they'll take really good care of you. And also go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. This is a one-stop shop for basketball coaches. It's everything you need from a nationally ranked. We won 3 state titles. I think we were just talking recently. We've won over 460 games in our program and lost 130 over the last 20 years. And I think we know the secret sauce to be successful, the roadmap, what it takes on and off the court. So go over and check it out and enjoy the podcast. Bye. All right. Welcome to Coach Unplugged. I've been literally scrambling. So this is my entertainment for the day right here.
Good deal. Happy to be a part of it.
I love it. I got a stack of papers. It's literally the reason I'll quit teaching, I think, is grading.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, it's like laundry. It never goes away. I tell my wife, it's like, oh my, if I hit the Powerball, I'll hire somebody to do my grading. So what I want you to do is just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your basketball journey. That's usually the way I started out, to kind of give everybody kind of a background, and then we'll see kind of what road we walk down.
Yeah. So name's Kyle Kavanaugh. I live in Ruston, Louisiana. Started my coaching career, I guess you could say. First opportunity was at Louisiana Tech University. Got to join their staff as a graduate assistant under Kerry Rupp, who's now at Oregon State.
Yep.
Spent 2 years as a GA there. Got kind of your first indoctrination of, hey, you don't really know anything about basketball. Yeah. You grow up playing it, you think you're interested in coaching it. And then in that very first workout, you kind of realize, man, I really don't know a whole heck of a lot of what is going on here.
Right.
And so it was a really great experience for me, spending those 2 years, and, did everything from scrubbing floors to folding towels to washing uniforms to helping with scouting reports and recruiting information and checking classes, and just kind of got to be a part of the everyday operation aspect of it. Did that for 2 years.
Before you leave on that, so what was harder? What was easy, hard, or unique about that some of the listening? Because I've had a couple of people that have been basketball operations people.
Yeah. So I mean, like they say, things kind of roll downhill. And managers and GAs usually kind of live underneath that hill.
Right.
And so it was just a little bit of anything, like kind of making yourself available. Like what I might do on Monday might be completely different from what I do on a Tuesday, because it was just making yourself available to whatever, anybody in the office may need. So, Coach Rupp was the head coach. He would go down to the assistants, and then Cody Figure was our ops guy. And then he would basically come to me and say, hey, I need help with this today. And it might be, recruiting information, and it might be, getting guys to class. It might be picking up something for the guys to eat after practice. Literally could have been anything.
So what did that teach you?
it taught me to be ready, for anything. And to basically our little saying around the office was just get it done. Get something done no matter what. You won't have the budget for it. You won't have the resources for it. You won't even necessarily have the time to get it done, but it's something that needs to get done. And so you've got to figure out a way to make it happen. And I think that was a really great lesson for me, was just, you might be stuck in a situation. You're like, man, there's not really much for me to do here, but I'm going to do the best I can and try to produce something that these guys need in order for us to get this job done.
Right. And I think first of all, that not only a great life skill, to be honest with you, especially if you become a parent. If you become a parent, you know what he's talking about, because literally you don't know what's going to happen the next day, especially when they're little. But I think to be a coach, you always, everything rolls downhill still, even in my program, but it's
right.
Trust me, it does. And you do it long enough, but it's, you got to be ready for a little bit of everything. You never know when, your best player is going to break up with his girlfriend 3 minutes before tip off, kind of thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And we would have, there would be things like, coach might come in and be like, okay, this is super important. We need you to stat this in practice. I want to report of this, at the end on my desk, and all of a sudden in practice, you're doing what is, technically your job for that day. And then all of a sudden something comes up, a player gets hurt or something crazy happens in the office, and you got to go drop what you're doing and figure out something else. But at the same time, you're still responsible for that, that first job. So it might be grabbing one of the managers and teaching them real quick, hey, I need you to do this for me so I can go take care of that. And it's just, like you said, it's a life skill for sure, because as a teacher in the classroom, as a coach and coaching different programs, and then now as a father for the last 3.5 years, like literally you don't know, your 3-year-old is happy one second and
they're
screaming the next.
They're throwing up on you the next second. Yes. I think, that's what people that aren't in the teaching profession don't realize too. It's like the number of questions and things that just hit your desk. Like when I walk in, that they go, how do you do it how have you done it for so long? I go, because every day is different. I don't, I have a gist of what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, but I have no idea. Like I don't know who's going to be showing up at my desk or my door or what's going to happen, or I think
and that changes. I think and most schools are probably this way, but fall, you got football stuff going on, and there's pep rallies, and there's homecoming, and there's dances, and there's this and that, and then you hit kind of there's just different seasons throughout the year, and then there's summer, and you might have a perfect week of lessons planned out, and then all of a sudden you have a tornado drill, hey, we're going to have this speaker come in, and we're going on a field trip, and you have to be flexible and adaptable to your situation. And that was like I said, a really great lesson for me, just literally within the first 5 minutes of my first workout,
right. I think that's great for the young coaches too. You're not going to last long in a teaching profession, and coaching is teaching. If you're not willing to be flexible. To be 100%. Honest with you. If I was doing what I was doing 30 years ago, coaching wise, I probably wouldn't be coaching right now, to be honest.
Yeah. And I would argue this, for those, that teach full loads throughout the day. Right now, the situation I'm in, I teach 4 life science classes to 7th graders. And if I'm teaching the same lesson first to third to fourth to fifth hour, something's changed, within those classes. And I have a beautiful plan laid out, but, chances are something's going to come up, and you've got to just roll with it.
Right. First of all, bless you for teaching middle school. Bless you, bless you, bless you. There's a special, I student taught, bless you for doing that. Well, some people say that about high school seniors who I teach, but yes. But the thing is, I think the perfect number is 2 or 3 classes. I think I get bored if I'm only teaching one kind of class.
Right.
And 4 is hard, because as you get older, like me, you forget, did I do that? Did I not do that? Did that work? It's like, did I tell that joke already? Kind of thing. So I think that perfect teaching one is for the kids, especially. I think the second time I do it during the day, maybe the third, but I'm really like, ooh, that didn't work. I can't do that next period. Those that first period kind of takes the brunt of.
Right. So this is my second tour of duty for junior high. I did 8th grade years ago. I've taught everything from 7th through 12th. Science, history, a little bit of everything. Last school I was at, I taught 6 straight same class all day long. And it's tough, you know, and you're not real good at it. First hour, second hour, you kind of hit your groove in the middle of the day. And then by the end of the day, you're just ready to talk about anything, you know, anything else.
Anything but that. Yeah.
Right. But it's, you know, that's the job, right? So that's what you've got to do. And those 6th hour kids deserve your best, just like the first hour kids did. Right. And again, I just think that's huge, because then when you do that all day, now you're going right into practice, right? And then your players are expecting the best from you at the end of the day, and you've got to somehow kind of dig a little bit deeper and find that energy and that enthusiasm.
Yep. And you can fake it. I tell my guys, I said, I'm tired too, but you can fake this. Like, we can get some clapping going. You can fake this and get it going. All right, so let's go back. This typical of me. I get people off task. Sorry about that. So all right. So what happened after that job?
So, you know, I would love to have stayed there, but was getting married and had to start making some money and paying some bills. And so I jumped across town and got in a first high school assistant coaching job at the 5A school in Ruston, Louisiana. I did that for a year. And again, just tried to apply everything that I had tried to learn at Tech. Kind of did a lot of the same stuff. And then at high school, you have a little bit more responsibility, obviously, because there's more to do, not as big the staff. And so, you know, got to apply, you know, the operations part, you know, making sure the guys were, you know, study hall, in and out of class, taking care of our business, making sure that we had things set up for practice, you know, whatever the head coach needed. Just, again, trying to serve his needs as best I possibly could. Right. And then was fortunate after that year to get my first head coaching opportunity, again, in the same town in a private school across the way, and was there for 7 years. As the head coach. And then the last 2 years, I was at Simsboro High School, which is in the same parish, all about 20 minutes away, and was the associate head coach out there, where we were fortunate. We were very, very talented and had 2 good years and won back-to-back state championships there. And now I'm back at Cedar Creek, just teaching and working on my clinics and consulting, and I'm a little bit of a transition period from coaching into just teaching and looking to do some other things now.
Okay. Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, a parish is probably like a neighborhood, right?
Right? So that would be like your counties.
Counties.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
so a parish is a county for those northern people.
Right. For everybody other than Louisiana.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Well, I think it's when the hurricane hit a lot. They were talking about parishes, and this parish was, I think that was one of the first times I remember hearing it on a regular basis. It's nice and warm down there. Huh? How is it in the summer?
It's steamy right now.
It's steamy. Oh, it's perfect. It's like, so we're doing this in September. Like, it's perfect weather in Wisconsin right now. It's like 70. Leaves are starting to change. You got that kind of nice smell outside.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's perfect. It's like, this is one of the reasons I haven't moved is fall. I love fall. But anyway, so tell a little bit about the difference from moving from the assistant job to the head job. What did you see as that conversion?
Right. So what's been interesting is going from the assistant to the head and then back to an assistant. And there's a really big difference between making suggestions and making decisions. And everybody's really good at making suggestions because you're not the one that has to live with it at the end of the day. And just the idea that everything falls on you as the head coach. And I didn't have any full-time help when I started that job. I was 24 years old. I didn't know much of what I was doing. Again, you're just trying to get through each day and try to make the best decisions you possibly can and apply what in retrospect, what little you do know. Right. But did the laundry get done? That's on me. Are the lights off? Are the doors locked? Right. I remember my very first, we were getting ready for our very first game as a head coach, and the girls coach was coming in and talking about concessions and officials. And I was like, somebody doesn't take care of that. We have to make sure the concession stand stocked. You just don't think about that when you play in high school. You show up, people show up, officials show up. There's administrators, the lights are on, the table is set. There's nets on the rim. There's lights in the scoreboard. The floor is swept, and you don't realize that somebody has to take care of all of that. And
Right.
when you're coaching at a small 1A private school, you're the guy that gets to handle
Everything.
90% of that stuff, if not 100. If you're lucky to have, some good parents or I had a part-time college assistant at the time. You're just looking to pass some information off. And then at the end of the day, you do all of that. Oh, I've got to be able to coach a game.
Right.
And try to win,
it's like all those different hats. That's what people don't realize. It's like,
right.
I mean, I was in today and I was doing some stuff in the gym with my son. I mean, I'm over there sweeping. I'm making sure, you're right, all the doors are locked or the ball. I mean, it's like, yeah, there's no GA or operation guy to do it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Do the officials have water? Is there a place where the opponents are going to park their bus?
Yeah.
And then
the
if you're going on,
the smaller the school, the more of that stuff you have to do. I'm blessed. I've got a couple volunteer assistants. I've got a paid one. So I'm blessed in the sense that I can delegate a lot of things. But the smaller schools, you're the head coach, you're the assistant, you're the janitor, you're the bus driver. I mean, it might be everything. It might be like Hoosiers kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You're social media. You're the ops guy. You're the the SID. I mean, you're
it's like for
stats.
volleyball, it's me, and volleyball, it's me. Like I'm it for the volleyball. Like I'm the coach, so it's like I have to do everything, and it's like it makes me appreciate so much to have all that help during the regular season.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So all right. So let's talk about some basketball X's and O's. Talk about, people always ask about practice. So talk to me about how you orchestrate your practice. If there's some keys to it, if you could only do like maybe a handful of things at practice, what would they be and why? That's a pretty open question, but
yeah, well, I could ramble on probably about this for a while.
Okay.
That's changed a lot for me. Being 12 years in, again, like I used to want things to be so regimented. I wanted somebody to walk in my practice and be like, man, this is an army. These guys move like a machine. There's a reason why the water is set up where it is. And there's the reason why this drill is set up the way it is. And one drill flowed into the next. And I used to spend so much time trying to plan for those practices and making sure that like every single little detail down to who was going to be in which group and this and that. And that was like, in my mind, I thought that's what good coaching was, and we would practice really well all week, and then things wouldn't translate into the game, right? You're like, okay, well, this worked all week against us, or on air, and then all of a sudden in the game, like it wasn't really working out the way we were. And so I've had a really big shift in my mindset, not worrying so much about kind of how pretty practice looks, and much more into some messy training, chaotic training, and more about transfer into the game, more small-sided games. Advantage, disadvantage, contextual kind of things. And I try not to worry so much about like, okay, was this drill run perfectly or not? Because in the games, they're not run perfectly. And at that old job I had, we were outmatched athletically. And so it was like anything we wanted to do, those other teams were not going to let us do. And so we needed to spend more time on what are we going to do when things don't go right? And so trying to set up more situations like that in practice is what we focused on the last 2 years at that job I was at. And we were very talented and athletic and extremely blessed with the kids we had. But I realized that worked in that context too, because if we could get our guys in place structured, we were really good. But if we could get our guys to be structured within that chaos, we were dang near unbeatable.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is, I find it so interesting too, and Coach Oliver has done a lot of discussion about my transformation over the last 30 years. That just kind of happened. And I don't know how it did. If you'd have seen my practices 30 years ago and you saw them the last 2 years or last 10 years, even much more of that, because it's like, that's what they need to get good at. And to be honest with you, we don't have the time. Because I don't see my kid. I'm not like a college coach. We don't get to see them all the time. So there's things that we need to do. And I was telling another coach that I basically have set up practice like a game. Like we have a pregame, we have our warm-ups, we have halftime, we have like timeouts. We literally, it's very, I got to do something on it because I think it's very unique. And the reason was I kept asking myself, why am I doing all this stuff? And it's like, well, my objective is to get them ready to compete, right? So literally, like, we'll take, they'll take timeouts during practice when they need a break or they need to go get water or something like that. But I think that's intriguing. I think that's what skill do you think is under being taught right now? What skill do you think that kids don't have that they had 15 years ago, or is it being taught?
Yeah, I would say, like, if we could define decision making as a skill, right?
Okay.
Like, then I would go with that. And just,
why do you think that is? Why do you think decision making is different now than it was 20 years ago?
I don't know if it's probably because we don't allow them to do it. More control from the coaches, I suppose.
Okay.
When I grew up playing, just in the yard, like IQ, I would tie those two things together. So, like, me and my brother would just make up games, and it's like we would be forced to figure those things out. So that life skill, going back to what we were talking about, like with me being a graduate assistant or a 24-year-old head coach and not know what to do, like, just the ability to figure things out. And it's like, at some point, I guess, us adults decided we're going to tell kids how they should play, and so we remove.
And I've read studies on this. It's crazy. If you put 10 kids into a playground and tell them you got to play basketball for 2 hours, they will make it competitive. They will find out the weak link, and they will even, kids will self-regulate because they want it to be fun. If they're winning every game 102-6, it's no fun. Like, if a kid can't hit a baseball, they'll come up with something. If they can't they will do that. But we have taken that skill away from them, to be honest with you.
I think so too. And I think that's more about, like, again, that's making us want to feel like we're doing a good job coaching.
Right.
Because I don't think the kids have lost that ability or they've lost that skill, but we don't put them in a situation to where they're allowed to explore or grow that skill.
Right.
And I agree with the same thing in the classroom, front loading vocab words to kids to memorize on a Friday and give them a test that they don't truly learn anything, as opposed to using more of a constraint-led approach to, just explore and discover. And us boring old adults aren't going to come up with as many creative ideas or solutions as the kids are, because they're just wired more creatively than we are. I think. And I've been trying to do more of that in my classroom as well. Even with these 7th graders, I give them just a situation, say, hey, you have to get this little paper ball into a cup. There's a spoon, there's a ruler, there's some markers, there's a rubber band, but you can't touch the cup, the ball, or the spoon. Figure it out.
Right.
And
they love that.
They're coming up with ways. Yeah. They're coming up with things I could have never fathomed,
Right.
And it was me getting out of their way and allowing them to explore and do. And every decision that didn't work, but it wasn't failure. It was just we learned a way not to do it. And so let's figure out another way. And every time we would arrive at a potential answer or solution, that just gave us more questions. And so those more questions led to more
What did you give them?
answers.
I love that. I'm going to do that with my team. I love that. What is it? You give them a ball, a cup, and a what?
So I teach life science. So we were just talking about scientific method and, the process of discovery. And so it was just, I'm looking around my room just to see what I had. It was like a little paper cup, like a little coffee cup.
Yep.
Balled up Post-it note,
yep.
A spoon, a ruler. I gave them like some markers and color pencils, which really had nothing to do with them being successful or not. It was just kind of noise, stuff that didn't really, might not make them successful, but they had to figure out if it was going to be successful or not. And I just gave them some constraints. Like I said, you can't touch the ball with your hand. You can't touch the cup. You can't touch the spoon. Because in my mind, I'm going to use the spoon as a catapult, right?
Right.
And so when I told them they couldn't touch the spoon, most of the groups just ignored the spoon. They just, okay, well, we're not going to use it. And they were trying to come up with all these little ways to kind of cheat the rules. Like they would put the little ball into a marker cap and say, well, I'm not touching the ball. I can drop it in the cup from up top, or they would launch it vertically or horizontally. And then some built like ramps or tracks, or they made funnels to put, into the cup or something. It was amazing. It's kind of hard to explain.
If you gave them some string or something too, it'd be interesting. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So, and it was just, hey, you got 20 minutes to figure something out. And some groups were better at it than others. But the idea was that, even if a group never got the ball in the cup, it wasn't a failure because they were still working and figuring out things.
I'm telling you right now, I'm going to steal something similar to that and do it, because I'm always looking for team stuff with my team, and I love that kind of stuff. The problem and how I group them together will be important, and that they'll have to talk to each other. They'll have to come up with a solution. I love that. So let's see. What do you think's the hardest? You think that's the hardest concept to teach? What do you think the hardest concept for us as coaches to teach is?
I would probably go back to that decision making.
Okay.
As far as that goes, like being able to figure out what I'm supposed to do next. One thing that I think we are phenomenal at as coaches, and we spend 90% of our time on, is how to set up an advantage for our kids. Like, I've got this beautiful play, this beautiful set.
Right.
It's beautifully diagrammed. We've repped it over and over and over again, 5-on-0, 5-on-5. Like, I'm a genius. Look at me. Look what I'm going to make my kids do.
Right.
And we get them the open, whatever that open is. It's a shot. It's a look. It's 2 feet in the paint. It's a post up. And it just doesn't go exactly the way we draw it up, most of the time. And so it's this, what do I do next? How do I figure out what I'm supposed to do? And not only what does that kid with the ball, what are they supposed to do? What are my 4 teammates supposed to do? And how are they supposed to read and react off of each other and not get in each other's way? And I think that's a really difficult thing to teach.
I'm going to tell you right now, probably, I don't even know how many high school games I've coached, probably 500, 600, 700. I have no idea. The number of times it works exactly the way you want it to, I could probably count on one hand. Like, I could probably tell you those games, like and not that we haven't practiced it,
right?
But I can tell you at least 2 or 3 handfuls where we practiced it enough, and they knew that, okay, if things break down, here's what we have to do. Because it's adjusting. You get a flat tire in the middle of the highway. How are you going to adjust? You better figure something out fast, because you're going to get run over.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I think that's a great point. So coaching philosophy. What would, if you could summarize or spark note, I guess, for the newer generation, your coaching philosophy, what would it be?
So I would go back to the word transformational, and trying to serve my kids, and teach them what I feel like they're going to need to be successful. And I try to do the same thing. Like I said, if I'm in practice or if I'm in a classroom, it's kind of one and the same to me. I think the best coaches are the best teachers. So if you're teaching your kids and you're serving your kids, and you're doing it in more of a transformational way as opposed to a transactional way, and you really care about them, and they know that you're there for them, that they'll pretty much do anything for you. And at the end of the day, if we do those things, we're successful, at least in life. Right. But the crazy thing is the more often I think you do that, it will work out, on the field or on the court. And I've had moments where it doesn't. Like, I've been let go before,
right.
But, and it didn't work out that way. But that, experience and those lessons still help lead me down that path to where we won back-to-back championships at the next job I was at. So it's like, you realize, like, just because it may not work out one night doesn't mean you abandon it and give up on it, because in the long run, it's going to work. And I can't tell you how many, text messages or phone calls or conversations I've had from kids where on teams where we would win 4 games a year, but they would talk about how basketball was their most enjoyable season, even though
it's transformational. It's like, I always tell people, it's what you put out into the world will come back. If you serve and you do that, you don't do it to have things come back to you, but I'm a whole positive, negative energy kind of. Like, if you look at the glass half full or half empty, that's kind of how your world's going to work too. And it's like, the problem is we're evaluated on wins and losses, which is wrong, but we shouldn't be. We should be evaluated on what we're doing for the young men or young women. How are we transforming them? I 100% agree.
Right. And we are. And like you said, it is a shame. I mean, because there will be teams this year that win state championships, but totally underachieve.
Oh, right.
either
No, I
not
know.
fulfill their full potential or their kids are going to hate it.
Yep.
They'll have a ring to show for it, but
Yep.
their kids won't ever want to talk to their coach ever again,
No.
or this
I'm
or that.
telling you, and I've won state titles. I've done all. My best coaching season where I maybe transformed the team. We were 12-10. I mean, that team still talked. I mean,
Yeah.
but that was my best coaching job in 30 years. 12-10. We were 12-10.
And it was probably the most fun job you've had.
Yeah, it was great. It was
because the kids enjoy it, you enjoy it, and there's something to be said for success on the floor, but it's hard to coach talent. It's hard to win. There's a lot more pressure that comes with winning.
So I'm not complaining. I'm telling you right now, some of my most talented players ever were some of the hardest to coach. Absolutely.
Right. And there were plenty of days and nights where in the middle of our runs where you're not happy, you're not having fun because there's just so much other stuff outside of it. And you're like, man, this is, and you kind of have to question yourself, like, is this really worth it? Now, at the end of the day, you're happy that it works out and that's awesome. But at the same time, we also had those kids that were coming back and talking about, man, it was great that we won it, but man, I learned something this year. Like I learned more about who I am as a person. I learned how to set my own ego aside. I learned how to be happy for somebody else and let them get their shine. And when I got mine, they were happy for me and so on and so forth. And just like that to me that's why I got into this. That's why I'm trying to stay involved as best as I possibly can. Because those are the stories you love to hear about and to reminisce. And, that's, to me, that's ultimate success. And like you said, it is kind of a shame that it boils down to wins and losses and not how the kids are being treated or if they're having a good time or if they're growing,
or if they're learning,
or
if they're
becoming better people.
Yeah. If they're just becoming better, that's the hard part. So is there one failure? Because I'm all about the growth mindset. Is there one failure, one obstacle, or one thing that you have experienced that you could share with the listeners that you grew from that, we could kind of unpack?
Only one failure?
No, one more for the listeners. Like, obviously we all have, I have thousands of them, but
we've all got plenty.
Unpack that you and I could talk about that someone else who's listening in Anchorage, I hope someone's listening in Anchorage, could unpack and then they could learn from too, because that's what I want from the podcast, to be honest.
Right. I wish I would have gotten I'm relatively young, right? I'm 34, I suppose. I've been doing it 12 years. I wish I would have gotten to where I'm at sooner. And I think we all kind of have that regret. Like I don't think I was ever like a terrible person or a difficult person to play for. Like I've always loved and cared for my kids, but I didn't get to that transformational place as fast as I wish I would have. It was still like early on in my career, I wanted people to notice how good of a coach I was. Right. And it was more about serving my own needs. And coaching was an ego thing for me. It was, I wanted to call that play and I wanted it to work out really well. Right. And I wanted everybody in the stands to go, my gosh, this guy is a genius.
Yep,
look at him. He knows what he's doing.
That's what they say. The youth is youth is wasted on the young or something. It's like, I'm going to tell you, I'll tell you a story. My best team ever, we lost in the finals, and and that was the greatest group of young men. And I feel I wasn't the coach I needed to be at that point for them. Mm-hmm. If I had them now, it's like, so it's, regrets are long lists of things I wish I could go back. You're right.
Right.
I wish that learning curve could have been faster.
Right. And I think that my, kind of the hunger I have for wanting to grow and to develop, I'd gotten that a little bit sooner and gotten to where I was in a place to serve my players a little bit quicker. And that in turn takes me down that path of teaching decision-making and not worrying about executing the perfect practice or the perfect play, because it ultimately was keeping us from realizing our potential as a team and holding us back. And I've got groups that I wish I could go back and I kind of want to apologize to them when I see them. I'm like, man, if I could have been doing this with you then, man, we might not have won a state championship or this or that, but we would have been better because I would have kind of gotten out of y'all's way and allowed you guys to be kids and be creative and be players and me not try to control every aspect of what we're doing. Because again, I just thought that's what good coaching was. I grew up watching coaches stand up and holler out and tell everybody where to go. And if you watch Monday Night Football, you're going to hear all them talk about is how well designed a play is. And this coach spends 90 hours a week watching film, and they do this and they do that. And so it's like we make the coach so important.
Right.
And you're a young coach, you feel like you have to be that way.
On my many walks with my dogs, I've had many reflections on this. I think, and I played college basketball. And I think the issue is, at least for me, was that change. And you've talked about it previously, was the change from, there's things I didn't think about and I had great coaches growing up, but there were things that I was just playing, to be honest with you. I wasn't putting that depth into how coaches were. And then all of a sudden you graduate, your playing career is over, and then you become a coach. You know, it's like becoming a parent. They give you this baby and say, go home from the hospital. And you're like, whoa, is there a manual? Whoa, you know, it's like, I mean, just like, it's similar. It's like they're turning over these 15 or 16 young men or young women to you to mentor. And what do you fall back on? You fall back on the things that you kind of learned while you were a player, to be honest with you.
Hey, everybody. I hope you're enjoying this. Make sure, if you want to hear more, go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. If you want to hear other podcasts, go over and check out High School Hoops and Teacher Side Gig by Coach Collins. And subscribe, like, review all of them. 5-star reviews would be nice. Have a great day.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Right now, get a free select tool when you buy the Craftsman V20 2-pack battery kit. Whether it's the backyard, the bathroom, or beyond, Craftsman has the tools to help you power through and get the project done right. Because DIYing is unpredictable, but your tools shouldn't be. Shop Craftsman at Lowe's today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.